My greetings to everyone. I am Professor Namita Rajput, Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. In the ongoing series of corporate governance, today we are talking about the risk management framework, which is a part of the corporate scandals. The risk management framework are actually structured approaches which are used by the organizations to identify, assess, manage and mitigate the risk that could potentially impact their operations, assets or objectives. Now, these frameworks provide a very systematic method for dealing with the uncertainty and protecting against the adverse effects. Now, let us see some key components of a risk management framework. The risk identification. We need to identify potential risk that could affect the organization. This includes both internal and external risk such as the financial, operational, strategic and the reputational risk. We need to evaluate the likelihood and impact of the identified risk. Now, this step often involves the qualification, quantitative, qualitative analysis to prioritize the risk based on their potential effect on the organization. The risk mitigation. We need to develop certain strategies to manage or mitigate the identified risk. This could include the risk avoidance, the reduction, the transfer, insurance or acceptance depending on the risk appetite of the organization. There has been a continuously monitoring risk and the effectiveness of the risk management strategies. This includes tracking key risk indicators, we call it as KRIs, and adjusting the risk management plans as needed. Reporting and communication. Establish a very clear channels for reporting the risk to the stakeholders and ensure that there is a transparent communication about the risk management activities within the organization. Then we have a COSO ERM framework developed by the Committee of the Sponsoring Organization of the Tradeway Commission. This framework integrates the risk management into a strategic planning and performance management, emphasizing the governance, culture and performance. Then we have ISO 31000, which is an international standard that provides the guidelines on managing the risk faced by the organizations. It emphasizes the need for the risk management to be an internal part of an organization decision making process. Then we have NIST, Risk Management Framework. We call it as RMT. It was created by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. This framework is widely used in the United States federal government for managing the risk associated with the information system. It focuses on the security and the privacy of the risk management. Then we have OCTAVE, that is operationally critical threat, asset and vulnerability evaluation. A risk-based strategic assessment and the planning techniques for security. It helps the organizations to understand and manage the information security risk. Then we have FAIR, that is factor analysis of the information risk, a framework for understanding, analyzing and quantifying the information risk in the financial terms. It is particularly useful in the context of cybersecurity and IT risk management. Then we have implementing a risk management framework. We need to tailor the framework for the special needs, structure and the objectives of the organization. Then we have integration. We need to ensure that the risk management framework is integrated into all organizational process and the decision making. Then we have training, providing training and resources to ensure that all employees understand their role in the risk management. Now, in terms of the risk management framework, we have is a continuous improvement. The regular review and update the framework to reflect the changes in the organizational environment, emerging risk and the lessons learned from the past experience. Next we have is the effective risk management framework. It helps the organizations to anticipate, prepare for and respond to the risk, thereby safeguarding their assets and ensuring a long-term sustainability. Now, we have some regulatory framework and the reforms. The Serbian-Soxhilj Act (SOX) of 2002 is a landmark piece of legislation in the United States that significantly reformed the corporate governance practices, particularly in response to high-profile financial scandals like Enron and the WorldCom. It established a stricter regulations and the standards for the public companies, aiming to enhance the transparency, accountability and the accuracy in the financial reporting. Let's see some key provisions of the Serbian-Soxhilj Act. The first and the foremost is enhanced financial disclosures. Section 302. It requires the senior executives to personally certify the accuracy of the financial statements. This creates a direct line of accountability as a CEO and the CFO, which can face the criminal penalties for a false certification. Section 404 mandates that the companies establish the internal control and procedures for the financial reporting and that these controls are audited annually. So, this section is often seen as the most challenging and costly for the companies to implement. Increased corporate responsibility section 201. It limits the services auditors which can provide and avoid the conflicts of interest. The auditors can no longer offer certain non-audit services to clients such as consulting which could compromise their interdependence. Section 203, which requires the rotation of the lead audit partners every 5 years to prevent too close a relationship between the auditors and that of the client. Section 203 requires the rotation as it is very important that to have a discontinuation of the relationship of the clients and the auditors. Then we have the whistleblower protection section 806, which provides the protections for the employees who report the fraudulent activities within their companies, preventing the retaliation from their employers and offer a legal avenues for a recourse. The criminal penalties for a white-collar crime section 802 introduces a strict penalties for altering, destroying, fabricating financial records. Executives found guilty of these offences can actually face a significant fines and the long prison sentences. Next we have is the impact of the corporate governance. The Serbian-Soxhilj Act has had a profound impact on how the companies operate, particularly in enhancing their role of board of directors, auditors in the corporate governance. Some of the key outcomes include the stronger board oversight. The board of directors, especially the audit committees, are now more involved in overseeing the financial reporting and ensuring that management is held accountable. Improved transparency. The Act has improved the transparency of the financial reporting, making it more difficult for the companies to engage in a deceptive accounting practices. Increased cost. The compliance with the SOX, particularly with the section 404, has been costly for many companies, especially the smaller firms. This has led to the debates about the balance between the benefits of increased regulation and the financial burden it imposes. The broader implication, the SOX serves as a model of other countries, the corporate governance reforms and has influenced the internal regulatory framework. It underscores the importance of a strong regulatory environment in maintaining the investor confidence and ensuring the integrity of the financial markets. By analyzing the Serbian-Soxhilj Act, we can see how the regulatory framework are very crucial in shaping the corporate governance, protecting the investors and ensuring that the companies operate ethically and transparently. Now, let us see a very pertinent topic, that is, what is the impact of the corporate scandals, what we have discussed today at length. The corporate scandals can have a very significant impact on the business, shareholders and of course, the society as a whole. They often expose the government failures, leading to a loss of trust, financial damage and the regulatory changes. So, here are some few notable cases which studies and illustrates the consequences of the corporate scandals. When you talk about the Enron 2001, it was an energy company that held complex accounting loopholes in the hide of its debts, inflating the profits and misleading the investors. So, let us see its impact. The scandal led to the Enron's bankruptcy, the dissolution of Arthur Andersen, one of the 5 largest audit firms globally, and a significant financial loss for the shareholders and also of the employees. It also resulted in the Surveillance-Oxley Act 2002, which imposed stricter regulations on the financial reporting and the corporate governance in United States. The next scandal what we are going to talk is on the Volkswagen emission scandal 2015. The Volkswagen was found in and have installed a software in its diesel cars that manipulated the emission test, making the vehicle appear more environment friendly than they ever actually were. And these scandals actually led to billions of dollars in fines and settlements. The significant drop in the Volkswagen stock market prices and loss of the consumer trust. It also sparked some stricter emission regulations and oversight in the automobile industry. The next is your Wells Fargo fake account scandals 2016. The Wells Fargo employees created the millions of unauthorized banks and credit card accounts in the customers' names to meet the aggressive sales target. The scandals resulted in over $3 billion in fines, a significant loss of the reputation, and the resignation of the CEO. It also led to the changes in the sales practices and a greater scrutiny of the banking industry practices. Then we have a very infamous case called Satyam Scandal 2009. The Satyam Computer Services and the Indian IT companies inflated its earnings and assets by falsifying its financial statements for several years. Now, the scandal led to a collapse in the company's stock prices, its eventful acquisitions by Tech Mahindra, and the significant legal consequences for the company's executives. It also prompted the reforms in the corporate governance in India, including the introduction of stricter regulations for the auditors and the directors. Next we have is a Theranons 2018. Now it is a health technology company which claimed to have developed a revolutionary blood testing device that required only a few drops of the blood. However, the technology did not work as claimed. So, this Theranos 2018 has a deep impact on the corporate. The company was dissolved and its founder, Elizabeth Holmes, faced the criminal charges. The scandal highlighted the importance of transparency and due diligence in the startup ecosystem and led to the increased scrutiny of the health tech innovations. Now, let us talk about some consequences of the corporate scandals. There was a loss of trust. The scandals erode the trust that the stakeholders, including the investors, customers, employees, have in the company. The financial damage. The companies involved in the scandals often face significant financial penalties, the lawsuits, and a drop in the market value. The regulatory changes. The scandals frequently lead to the implementation of the new regulations and the reforms aimed at preventing similar issues in the future. The long-term reputation of a company can be severely damaged, affecting its ability to attract and retain the customers, talent, and the investors. These cases show how the corporate scandals not only affect the companies involved, but also led to a broader changes in the industry practices and also the regulations. Now let us talk about a very important topic called the ethics and the corporate governance. Now ethics and the corporate governance are very critical pillars in maintaining the integrity, sustainability of an organization. When the company adheres to the ethical practices in its governance, it sets a foundation for trust, accountability and the long-term success. So here's how the ethical practices in the governance help prevent the misconduct. The first and the foremost is building a culture of integrity, the foundation of trust. The ethical practices foster a culture of honesty, transparency. When the leaders and the employees are guided by the ethical principles, they are more likely to make decisions that are in the best interest of the stakeholders, including the employees, customers, investors and the community. The next is your role modeling. The leaders who demonstrate the ethical behavior set a very powerful example for others to follow. This creates a trickle-down effect when the ethical practices become ingrained in the company's culture. The accountability and the transparency, the clear guidelines. The ethical guidelines involves establishing a clear policies and the guidelines for behavior. This reduces the ambiguity in the decision making and ensures that everyone in the organization knows what is expected out of them. The first is your transparency. A regular and the transparent reporting, both internally and externally, it ensures that the organization's actions are very open to scrutiny. This deters the individuals from engaging in the unethical behavior because they know that their actions are being monitored. The risk mitigation, the prevention of misconduct. The ethical governance includes implementing a robust checks and balances such as the adults and the compliance programs that can actually catch and prevent the misconduct before it escalates. The legal and the reputational risk. Adhering to the ethical practices minimizes the risk of the legal issues and protects the company's reputation. The misconduct, when uncovered, can actually lead to a severe legal penalties and damage to the organization public image. The stakeholder confidence. The ethical governance practices build the investor confidence, and when the investors believe that a company is managed responsibly and ethically, they are more likely to invest, which in turn supports the company's financial health. The customer loyalty. The customers are increasingly considered with the ethical practices of the companies they support. The ethical governance can actually enhance the customer loyalty and the brand reputation. The sustainable growth, the long-term success. The companies that prioritize the ethics in governance are more likely to achieve the sustainable growth. The ethical behavior reduces the risk of scandals, the lawsuits and the financial losses that can derail a company's progress. Innovation and collaboration. The culture of ethics fosters an environment where the employees feel safe to innovate and collaborate without the fear of unethical practices undermining their efforts. So in conclusion, we can say that integrating the ethical practices into the corporate governance is not just about the compliance. It's about creating a foundation for the long-term success and preventing the kind of misconduct that can actually destroy the organizations. By prioritizing the ethics, the companies can build the trust, ensure the accountability and pave the way for the sustainable growth. Now we are moving on to another very important topic called the crisis management and the corporate governance. The crisis management and the corporate governance are intertwined aspects which are very crucial for the survival and the resilience of an organization, especially during the challenging times. Effective governance during the crisis is very crucial because it ensures that the organization can actually navigate through the turbulence while maintaining its core values, reputation and the operational stability. The key aspects of the effective governance during crisis. The strong, decisive leadership is very essential in the times of crisis, and the board and executive teams must act quickly and effectively to manage this situation, making the well-informed decisions that prioritize the organization's long-term sustainability. The open communication with the stakeholders, including the employees, customers, investors, and the public, is very critical. The transparency, they build the trust, which is very essential for maintaining the relationship during a crisis. The good governance involves having a robust risk management framework in place. This includes identifying potential risk early, assessing their impact, and developing the strategies to mitigate them. The ethical standards. Adhering to the ethical standards, even under pressure, is very crucial for preserving the organization's integrity. This involves making the decisions that are very not legally compliant but also socially responsible. The ability to adapt to the rapidly changing circumstances is a hallmark of effective governance. This may involve revisiting, revising the strategies, re-evaluating the risk, and being open to the change in the organization's structure and operations. Engaging with the stakeholders and considering their operations is very vital. This involves understanding their perspective, integrating their needs into the decision-making process, which helps in maintaining their support during the tough times. The long-term perspectives. The immediate action is very necessary during a crisis, and it is very equally important to keep an eye on the long-term impacts of the decisions. Effective governance balance short-term crisis management with the long-term strategic goals. The learning and improvement. The post-crisis. It's important for the organizations to conduct a thorough review of what happened, what went wrong, and what could be improved. This learning process is very essential for building the resilience and preparing for the future crisis. Effective governance during the crisis and helps the organization survive, but also the positions which help them to recover and thrive the post-crisis. It is about making the informed ethical decisions while managing the risk and maintaining a very clear communication with all the stakeholders. Now, when you talk about the crisis management and the corporate governance, by embedding these practices, the organizations can ensure that they are resilient and capable of bouncing back strongly from any kind of crisis. Now, let's talk about the technology's impact on the corporate governance. The impact of technology on the governance has been transformative, reshaping how the government operate and interact with the citizens. So, let's see some key areas which are related to technology, which has made a significant difference. The digital platforms. The government worldwide have adopted the digital platforms to increase the transparency. For example, the websites and the app allows the citizens to access the government data, track spending, and monitor the implementation of the policies. The blockchain technology. It offers a secure, transparent way to manage the public records, reducing the possibility of corruption and ensuring that the transactions and the processes are traceable. Improved public services delivery. The introduction of e-governance has made it easier for the citizens to access the services online, like applying for the license, paying the taxes, accessing the healthcare services. This has actually reduced the bureaucratic delays and improved the overall deficiencies. The automation and the AI. Automation and artificial intelligence have actually streamlined many government functions, from automating the routine tasks to using an AI for more complex decision-making process, such as in the social services and the law enforcement. The social media and the mobile apps. The government use social media and mobile apps to engage with the citizens, gather the feedback, communicate with the policies. This has made the governance more participatory, as the people can voice their opinions and influence the decision making directly. The digital voting. In some places, the digital voting systems have been introduced, making it very easier for the public to participate in elections, ensuring that the process is more secure and efficient. The big data analytics. The use of the big data allows the government to analyze the vast amount of information to make the informed decisions. Data analytics helps in predicting the trends, understanding the public needs, crafting the policies that are more effective and targeted. The smart city. The technology-driven smart cities use the data to manage the resources effectively, reduce the wastage, improve the quality of life for the citizens through a better urban planning, traffic management and energy use. The challenges and the risk, the privacy and the security concerns. The increasing use of technology in the governance raises the issue related to data privacy and cybersecurity. Ensuring that the citizens' data is protected from the breaches and misuse is a growing challenge. The digital divide. Not all the citizens have an equal access to technology, leading to a digital divide that can actually increase the inequalities. The government must work to ensure that the digital governance does not leave behind the marginalized communities. So, the technology impact on the governance is profound, offering opportunities for more transparent, effective, participatory government. Hence, it is presenting a lot of challenges that require a very careful management and including the issues of security, privacy and the equity. As the technology continues to evolve, the role in the governance will likely to grow, necessitating an ongoing adaptation, innovation from both the government and of course the citizens. Thank you very much.